Welcome to That Annuity Show, the podcast that will make you an expert in explaining annuities to your clients. Give us 30 minutes each week and we'll shave hours from your client presentations. Now, here's your host, Paul Tyler.
Hi, this is Paul Tyler, and welcome to another episode of That Annuity Show. And with me are our regular hosts, Mr. Will Moorcroft, Ramsey Smith, and Mark Fitzgerald. Hello.
Good afternoon, Paul.
Good
Hey,
afternoon.
Paul, good to see you.
Always good to be here.
It is as well. And today we have a very special guest, with us. And we've actually talked about her and her organization without her actually knowing it on some of our prior episodes. But we have Faisa Stafford, President and CEO, correct, of Life Happens, an industry or association that's done just a tremendous amount of work for the insurance industry, promoting just the need of insurance, what we do, telling our story. But Faisa, can you tell us a little bit about your organization, exactly who you are and what your organization does for our industry?
Absolutely. Thank you for having me. I'm excited. So Life Happens has been around for 25 years. We started in 1994, and exactly like how we're living through a crisis, 1994 was seeing a crisis reputation, crisis of the consumer wondering what the industry was doing for them and how they were doing it, a lot of questions. And right now we're living through a very different crisis, so it's kind of weird to have those at the front end and also at the 25-year mark. But Life Happens is a nonprofit. We are actually a 501c6 and a 501c3. So we have two sides, and we are primarily focused on educating consumers about the value of life insurance, disability insurance, long-term care, and annuities. We have been using campaigns for the last, I'd say now, 16, 17 years. To rally the industry around each of those insurance products. And if you're familiar with Life Insurance Awareness Month or Disability Insurance Awareness Month, which just ended, we're the ones that coordinate those campaigns to bring a louder voice to the consumer so they're better educated to purchasing these insurance products.
Yeah, when people have asked me what your organization does, I said, well, remember, all what the milk industry does with the Got Milk commercials. I mean, this is kind of what you do. But what's different about like promoting milk versus, insurance?
Milk is kind of a staple, right? People go out to the store, they want it with their cereal, they're looking for it. Life insurance, disability, long-term care, even annuities, you've got to sell it. These products have to be sold because they're sometimes confusing, and consumers are looking for easy products that they can easily purchase online, digitally, at their house, especially now. And these products need more interaction with an advisor. And what we're looking at is how do we kind of tie that consumer so that he's better, or he or she is better educated and ready to purchase through a financial advisor. We're just kind of softening it up so that an advisor can come in and actually get them the products they need for their situation. We call that a lack of education, right? The education gap between their wanting these products, not being educated enough to understand it and be able to purchase it on their own, but yet your advisors are the ones that can actually get them those products and the ones that they need in their situation.
So maybe stick with sort of the emotional aspect of insurance. I think you've done just a great job in some of your videos. So stick with milk for a minute. When I think of the commercials, it's humor, it's a little bit of warmth, it's family. What are the emotions that come? And maybe talk to us about life insurance versus disability. How do you think about the emotions that you're trying to trigger to get people to think, more than once about buying a complicated product like this?
So what we found is storytelling is the key. If you can explain to a consumer how someone in their same situation, whatever it's financial, their living situations, who depends on them, and you can show them a like situation with, let's say you're talking about disability insurance, right? You've got a pair of dentists that are partnering up and they have a practice, and you let them know the story about another dentist that was in a practice and who fell ill. what happened with the practice, what happened with the partner, what happened to those employees that they were hiring, and how DI can step in and save that business, but also the family. What we create is these stories called real life stories. And these are videos and flyers, graphics, social media graphics, everything in digital format that an advisor can use in educating a consumer by showing them a like story, whether it's life insurance, DI, long-term care, annuities. And what we've noticed is that makes a difference. It makes it click. It resonates with the consumer. They can see themselves in that same situation and know that they don't want to go through what would happen if insurance was not there. The interesting part is that we have also the complete opposite of that. So we have the counter of it in a scholarship program that we have called the Life Lesson Scholarship. This is specifically for life insurance, but what we do is we have students in high school and freshmen, sophomores in college who apply to a program who've lost a parent, whether that parent passed away from a variety of reasons. And you can always see these trends. Usually it's an opioid overdose, sometimes it's suicide, sometimes it's health related, but these parents are all young. They've had young kids and they're passing away. And we show what happens when there is no life insurance and how their futures are decimated. These kids will submit videos sharing how their lives have changed, how they're going to figure out how to pay for groceries, where they're living now, because most likely a lot of them are losing their homes, having to couch surf with friends and friends of the family. Families are destroyed and separated because there was lack of just a very simple product, even just a term life insurance policy. And so these stories, real life stories and the Life Lesson Scholarship stories, we create all this content that allows agents and financial professionals to share to consumers, so that, again, going back to educating consumer, letting them know about the need, what happens when you have it and when you don't have it, and then understanding that this financial professional can provide the expertise in getting them those products.
Hey, Faisa, how do you bridge or facilitate that connection between the consumer, your organization, the advisor? How does that work, or how does that look?
Great. So we have over 140 carrier partners and association partners. And every single one of those carrier and association partners gets access to a library of content, all digital, online educational tools. The videos that I was mentioning are part of that, flyers, graphics, everything is digital in format so that it's easy to send out. You can email it, you can put it on your website, there's embeddables. If you want to go old school, you can print things. If you want to go through the mail, you can always go that way, but everything is digital. And what we do is our distribution is two-pronged. We go direct to the consumer with advertising, with all of our videos and graphics. So we're hitting that consumer that way. And then we're going through the industry, through the carriers, down through their distribution to their agents, so that they're sending that out to their prospects, their clients.
That's helpful. Thank you.
Yeah.
So I had a quick question. So if one wanted to access some of your fantastic content, does one have to go through affiliation with a large insurance company, or will they be able to, would a smaller agency or an independent agent be able to access that content on their own?
So absolutely great question. So we do have the 140 carrier association partners, but in addition, we have an agent portal for the same types of materials, the same digital resources. It's through lifehappenspro.org. And an agent can subscribe to a monthly subscription service. It lets them do very similar types of downloading and emailing and sharing socially of all those contents, but there's less customization available to agents. The carriers, of course, will want to brand it with their logo, their colors, maybe change the graphics, hit different demographics. If they're trying to hit, the African American community or Asian American community, we can change that. For agents, they've got the portal. They can brand themselves, put their own headshot, their contact information, but there's less customization past that. But everything is still accessible to them to share with consumers.
And so they would pay a monthly subscription for that service?
Absolutely. So it's $39 per month for the basic level, all the way up to $79 per month if you want to brand yourself, your headshot and your contact information.
Gotcha.
Yeah. Oh,
Thanks.
so I want to pull in. We got a couple threads here that I know we're going to have some good discussion on. One is stories. What's a good story, right? Because for a life insurance or disability sale, because, or even, obviously you're selling insurance, you got to be able to do this, or you're getting into it. If you're doing on the annuity side, right, Mark, if you're selling an annuity with a care protection rider, you got to explain like why this is of significance. Now, just
Without
to
doubt.
face it from my headset, and like I'm thinking, okay, I'm going to go to Will with the story. Okay, is it paid? Is it a paid testimonial? Is it an ad? Does it cross the line of being a scare tactic? So what's the little fine line there that you can create these stories that work generically and sort of pass all sorts of compliance muster across? So compliance side, but then also just from a human standpoint, what is it that connects, and what is it that's like close but isn't quite effective?
Well, I'll start with the first part of your question, and Will can plug his ears because he's full on compliance. He's not going to like what I say, but we're a nonprofit. We're third party. We don't endorse a company, no agent, no specific product. So we can say anything. We can say what we want to say, what you cannot, because there are wills at every single one of these carriers, right? So your language might be stilted, your communication might be, it always will have the compliance feel of it, right? For us, we're focused on humanity, and humans want to know that they're protected, they're stable, and that the loved ones are cared for. That we go to the heart of it. That's the basis of it. And so the way that we communicate to consumers is very different than what a carrier can do. And we do that very well with advertising, direct digital advertising. And then what we do is we tailor how we advertise and all that content and create a compliance-friendly version in that Life Happens Pro platform that I mentioned, so that the wills of the world can, check mark with their red pen what they want to change, and they feel comfortable with the material that's sent. Yeah, that kind of.
Or bring value to the equation as well, not just with a red pen.
Of course. Of course. But it's great because for us, we don't have those handcuffs. We can really talk to how consumers normally talk about these insurance products. And, there's less of that, again, stilted conversation. We can hit hard on what they want to know, how they want to hear it, and how they talk normally. What's a good story? The best stories are always for kids. You have a kid in it and you show how that kid is affected, whether it be because they're able to stay in the house because there was life insurance, or they can go to college now because there was life insurance, or the complete opposite, that this kid now is struggling, they're going to school full-time, they're working full-time, and they're balancing all this, but that they're still going for their dreams, even though there is no life insurance at play. That those two sides of the story will always move people. Anyone who has a kid, anyone of our age or older, will always feel that tug to protect the younger generation, right? So that's always a great story. Right now, the big one is small businesses. That's a great story to be talking about life insurance, permanent life insurance. What company out there possibly doesn't even know that they have that lifeline that they could be tapping for cash value that could save them, that could ride out this disaster that you see all these small businesses closing? There's just so many. You just want to deal with what they're dealing with, right? They've got kids at home, they'll resonate to that. If they got a small business, or even if they're watching the small businesses in their neighborhoods closing, that's going to mean something to them.
That's really a great point. I think a lot of people think one-dimensionally about life insurance, just for their beneficiary, but tapping potentially into some form of permanent insurance for business needs, and especially in the time we're in right now, is a worthwhile conversation.
Yeah, well, it absolutely is. And for these does every story in the insurance business have to have a happy ending that you tell? Does it? No.
No, they don't. And honestly, if you look at the life lesson scholarships, I can't help a kid have that parent back. I'll share this with you because it just happened on Thursday. So every year with this Life Lesson Scholarship Program, we give out $250,000 worth of scholarships. And this year we just announced the big grand prize winner of $20,000. Her name is Zoe, and I called her on Thursday. She was screening her call, so I almost couldn't get her. Her boyfriend was trying to figure out if I was a telemarketer or something. And you could just hear that, yeah, she lost her father. Her father passed away when she was 15. Her mother took off and left the family, and she was left with an older sister who basically acted as a mother, and they're struggling. So I told her she won $20,000. She told me, okay, well, that's great. Thank you so much. And she said, well, I'm already scheduled to go to community college in the fall. And I'm like, you don't realize your life has completely changed. And the story of you is going to be very different. It's not going to be the perfect, fairy tale story of having your two parents at home and staying, with your family, but it's going to be a different one. And it's just going to show the perseverance. And when you talk about life insurance, that kid's parent, that young, how little did that father have to pay life insurance? What little amount could he have paid instead of leaving kids to figure it out on their own?
Yeah. We had Joe Jordan on a couple of weeks ago, and this guy is incredible telling a story. When we were working the same company, I'd have to listen to the same story. Like we'd have like 9 conferences, Ramsey, in a row. And I'm like, okay, I know what's happening, Mark. And I said, I'm not going to, no tears. And he would do it every time. It was,
it also almost provides like 20/20 hindsight before it even happens. So it's really giving you the opportunity to kind of understand that dynamic of somebody else's situation that you can't appreciate, without really understanding what they're going through. So I think that's really critical and important.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Yeah, go ahead, Mark.
I just had a quick comment. I think that like your structure is very fascinating. So one, you focus on storytelling, which is just an important part of sort of human interaction, right? It's the best way to communicate, between people. You have an editorial freedom that you've highlighted, which I think is super important, right? Because a lot of storytelling gets lost without that editorial freedom. As we talked about, prior to starting, I'd seen some of your content on the site of, one of the major carriers. And again, I had attributed it to them. I thought, wow, this is really good stuff they're doing. Now, in preparing for this discussion, I found out that it was your organization, which is amazing. My question to you is like, do you think that the industry is using this great content enough? Like, has the industry fully exploited like what they can? I don't love that word. Are they fully taken advantage of, or made the best use of? Educated. Thank you. That's why the sheriff is here. Yes. Your very thoughtful content to send the message. Are there enough carriers doing it right now?
If they were all doing it and using it, I would still say no, that there's still more opportunities for them to be using this. There's still going to be consumers that need to be educated. Mm-hmm. I personally, at this point, I think we have 2020 has given us the opportunity to go harder than ever before in educating consumers. It is a time where they're reaching out digitally online from their homes, asking the question about life insurance, annuities, any insurance product that is going to provide them protection. And I believe the more insurance carriers, and I'm happy that you saw our stuff on some other carrier's website, because that's the goal of it. I can hit consumers from Life Happens directly, but if the carriers are sending it out even more, then that voice is going to get that much louder, where consumers cannot deny that it's going to be helpful in this type of situation.
Is your level of traffic, Faisa, or interaction with the public, have you seen a significant uptick in 2020?
From our website, that's a great question. I don't know about our website, but I know for sure that late 2019 was maybe our best year. So I don't know if you're familiar with Life Insurance Awareness Month and how every year we hire a spokesperson. 2019 was Brooke Shields' first year as our Liam spokesperson, and her message was all about protecting your loved ones with life insurance. She has 2 teen girls. She just resonated really well. Her consumer message was great. So that peaked really nicely for us all through the second, third, and fourth quarter of 2019. So traffic was very nice for us. We play also, because we're a nonprofit, we use our spokespeople to create public service announcements, PSAs. And so what we do is we play that throughout the country, and that message from a celebrity, especially with that kind of a voice and that appeal, like a Brooke, that reaches that many more consumers with that message. So just letting you in on a secret, Brooke Shields is coming in again for 2020 as our spokesperson. And this Thursday coming up, we are taping her from her home. So she's going to be taping her messages for the industry, calling for them to ramp up their message. And it's all about life insurance is now. Like Life Insurance Awareness Month is now, today, tomorrow, the next day. It isn't tied to a specific month, it is every day.
Yeah, well, you tell her, Ramsey and I both went to school with her, and it was a good choice.
Is that true?
Yeah.
Yeah. I had classes with her. I was a French major.
No, I was the same.
Oh, from Princeton.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
I was in the same class with her for 4 years. Yeah, there. So yeah, she's great. So she's done a lot for this. She's been a good spokesperson too for the school and our activities. So she's a good choice for doing that program.
Absolutely.
Yeah, but
We're happy to have her on that annuity show.
yeah,
I'll pass that along.
send her over here. We're tell her we're just like ABC. Not quite ABC
Yeah.
yet, but
It could be the Princeton alumni show,
For
guys.
sure. Go Tigers.
yes,
Right.
exactly.
I guess one question I have, obviously going through the pandemic as we're going through, we're seeing a lot of different shifts in people's business models. Is there anything specific that you're seeing as it relates to, activity coming more from the consumer, more from the agent, more from the carrier? And I guess, are you seeing any trends that are surprising to you, as it relates to, where that flow is coming from?
Well, biggest trend is digital. Life Happens has gone digital. We did it 12, 13 years ago. So we were on the forefront of going all digital. Every resource that we sent out to consumers was digital many years ago. Our advertising went digital 9 years ago. And we are pretty much all remote staff. It's interesting to watch the industry finally latch onto this. They had no choice in it, of course, right? There's no way to do business any other way. But the great part is that it's serving the consumer so well. It finds them in their home where they're comfortable, where they want to be reaching out to. And so I love seeing the fact that all these carriers are doing just their very best in turning digital a way of life for them. Many of them are going remote for their employees, but also the way that they service their customers is just changing drastically. The no medical, no blood, no urine, everything e-sign, that trend, everyone's been talking about how it just had to happen, but it was just a slow pace, right? Everyone had to get comfortable with it and start putting that into the works. They had no choice. You had to do business. So you figured out how to do it quickly. You watch companies all of a sudden start doing texting approving. That's unheard of, right? To text your prospects. It's just, and your clients, it's just, I'm really happy to see that, because for our standpoint, we know that so many more consumers will be served by going digital. It just makes the process so much simpler. It allows the consumer to feel comfortable to be speaking to an advisor or carrier. And from our standpoint, our products, our consumer education tools are all digital. And what we did in early April is we created a toolkit for anyone in the financial services industry. It's at lifehappenspro.org/toolkit. And it provides digital assets that you can share online, stories like the real life stories, videos, the real life stories, even the small business one, which I had a really good one. It was a recycling business that survived the 2008 financial downturn because he had cash value he didn't even know about. And so all those contents, the way that you can communicate to clients and prospects that you are open for business, even if it's digital, even if your storefront isn't open, you're still here. And so what we've created is just this content that's free to anyone, so that they can be reaching out to their clients and prospects and letting them know that they're there, number one, that they care, but also they can help them at this time. This is the time to be talking about life insurance, annuities, especially annuities, when everyone's talking about what's happening with Social Security. Everyone's worried about the retirement funds and what that's going to look like. And people are putting off retirements because of this. So what we've been telling agents is don't be afraid to reach out to your clients. The outreach that you do now will be remembered not just tomorrow, not just a month down the road, but many, many years down the road. And you have potential to make a difference for businesses, families, generations, if you're reaching out to your clients.
Great, thank you.
Words to live by.
This is great. So I'd say if 2020 had to be the year of life insurance, I mean, this is like life insurance awareness year. What will it take to make it stick so people actually appreciate that, this is insurance, it's not investments, that, this is a gift to future generations. It is a way to stay independent, not be burdening your kids. What will make it stick?
The more that we can have carriers reaching out to consumers with education material, not just sales material, not just all the legalese and the compliance stuff, but actually real life stories. I think the more that we can talk about that, and ultimately we know at Life Happens that we're going to get real life stories and life lesson entries that are COVID related, that are going to talk about what happened during 2020 to my family, or what happened to my business during this year. And we're going to be able to relay that to consumers. So the more that we can get the industry's buy-in to all of our campaigns, use the resources, share it, send it out digitally. Don't be afraid of digital, and then continue to educate consumers. The more partners also we have in the industry, the better that we can create these programs and hire celebrities to be the face of our campaigns. That's something that all of us can do.
So how are you keeping score? Because I feel like there's a lot of different ways you could do that. One could be, it could be sales, but I actually think the more important opportunity is education. So more educated people, because it means more people are making the choice that they understand to be right for them, whether it's to actually buy a policy or not. But how do you keep score? Is it views or downloads? Is it moving the needle in terms of sales? Or what are the various things you look at to get the sense that this great content is having the impact you want?
Great question. So there are multiple factors in how we grade ourselves. Number one is impressions. So all of our advertising, digital advertising, our public service announcements with our celebrity spokespeople, all of that is tracked, and we watch the impressions, the number of eyeballs that we're reaching. That's a big metric. Then we also focus on how many of the carriers are pushing out the same messaging, so that they're we're using them as a megaphone, right? How many more voices are talking about the same message at the same time? So we use those two. We also look at internally from our Life Happens Pro platform, how many agents, financial professionals are using our digital assets and sending that out, because our platform allows you to share socially on Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, direct from the platform. So we can see how many people are sending out our material. And we socially listen for the tenor of the discussion around life insurance, annuities. We're using digital tools that allow us to listen to the discussions they're having online. So we're watching if that sentiment goes up or down, what new trends are coming up. Like, for example, living benefits came up recently, which is weird. It's a trending term, which would be surprising because consumers, you wouldn't think, would know much about it. We're glad it's part of the discussion, and we like to promote that. And lastly, especially for our campaigns, we use hashtags. So we push for everyone who's pushing out material during those campaign months to use the hashtag so that we can tag it and watch where that conversation leads to and how many people are reached by that message.
Which hashtag? Life Happens hashtag or subject specific?
So each campaign, Life Insurance Awareness Month, will have Liam20. That'll be our hashtag, and we'll announce it to the industry. Disability Insurance Awareness Month was GM20. And so whenever we can tag, when the carriers can tag it, when the agents can tag it, we can keep track of it and see how far it disseminates and how many consumers are reached with it.
Yeah. Well, listen, thanks so much. We're kind of at the top of the time. What other final questions would we have? I don't know, Mark?
Yeah, I think this is great. I think that education is certainly the key. And obviously you were on the forefront of the whole digital platform. And obviously everyone's been kind of
force fed into that over the last couple of months. So I think that this trend should continue to grow for sure.
Yeah, I agree. Thanks, Faisa. This is really, really good, great conversation. I think foundationally, I agree with you that education is a cornerstone here. If you looked into your crystal ball for the balance of 2020, what are you seeing as we kind of move past the COVID quarters, I'll call them? Anything that you see on your horizon?
From my personal horizon, from Life Happens horizon, we're looking to cement the shift in perception about life insurance. So we're looking at ways that we can keep that discussion going and keeping that sentiment moving towards a positive. Consumers saw the value of life insurance when they really needed it. And I want to make sure that shift sticks. And so we're looking at different ways how our advertising, how our partnerships with associations and carriers can help continue that trend.
That's a great point, because people are, their interest is their focus and interest is there now.
Yeah, well, Faisa, thanks so much for your time. We'll get your links in our show notes so people can click through to see some of the sites you said. Any other? What's next? What are is it Life Insurance Awareness Month in September? Is that the next big campaign?
That's a big push, but again, like I said, it's not going to be just September. So we are taping Brooke Shields this week. We're going to be pushing out her material, and the whole theme is Life Insurance Awareness Month is now. So we're going to be pushing out tons of content with Brooke, tons without Brooke, making sure that the industry can talk about life insurance now and how it's the most important insurance product that they could be looking at right now.
Okay, great. Well, listen, thanks so much for your time, Mark, Will, Ramsey. Thanks again.
Always a pleasure.
It is.
Likewise, always a pleasure.
We'll be here next week.
Thank you, everyone.
And thank you. And for everyone listening, please rate, review us on wherever you're listening to your podcasts, and join us again next week for another episode of That Annuity Show.
Thanks for listening. If you've enjoyed the show, please rate and recommend us on iTunes, Stitcher, Overcast, or wherever you get your podcasts. You can also get more information at thatannuityshow.com.